Hello and welcome to this DIY Friday video. In this video we're going to continue with my kitchen renovation, the refurb that we're doing here. As you can see behind me, I've taken some cupboards off the wall. I did try filming that, but we ran into some technical issues, so I won't be able to show you it. But the good news is that on removing those cupboards, I found an original Mark Rothko painting on the wall behind me there, so that's pretty cool. So hopefully that'll be worth a few bob, and I'll be able to flog that on, which is pretty exciting. So this video is all about getting rid of these internal walls. So we're starting here, we're going to get rid of all this wall here, we're going to get rid of this wall round here as well. So all this is going to go, this bit of worktop, all of that is going to be gone, hopefully, by the end of this video. So that's the process. So I'm going to set up a time lapse so you can see various things I'm doing, and I might just bring in some normal footage if there's anything that's particularly interesting as we're going along. And that's particularly interesting, of course, by my definition, not necessarily yours. So we'll set the time lapse up and we'll see what we can do. Okay, so that's all the skirting board off, which is pretty good. So the next thing that we've got to do is to start taking the plasterboard off. Now I'm going to start with this kind of area here and work my way round into this space, taking all of that off, which is going to be interesting because that's getting near to what needs to be retained for now. But this bit is going to come off quite easily, I think. So we've got this kind of arch bit going on here, which means obviously there must be a stud here and also a stud on this side as well. So there's a bit of a challenge in this bit in that I want to keep this kitchen sink in place for the time being, just because it's quite handy for washing paintbrushes and that kind of thing. It is going to go eventually, but it's quite handy for now. And I'm hoping, I've got a feeling that this little piece of trim that you can see here, I'm hoping that that is just a filler and not actually fixing this to that wall. If it is, that's going to be a little bit more challenging to get out. But the first thing I'm going to do is take the plasterboard off on this side. So looking down at the, let's see if I can bring this in close enough for you to see it. Okay, so excuse the wobble. You can see there, hopefully, the plasterboard ends just there. So what I'm going to do is get my hammer and bolster and just chonk that out there. And then hopefully that whole piece of plasterboard should just give fairly easily, which may well turn out to be famous last words, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. So we'll give it a go and see what happens. So now we're on day 2 of the demolition work, so you can see here I made a good start. Didn't get an awful lot of time on that yesterday because I had to stop and do some other bits and bobs, so made a good start. I always find that the hardest part. However long I've been doing big DIY projects for, starting to smash into a finished wall is always very nerve-wracking for me. But now that's done, that's great. That's given me the impetus to go, well, there's no going back, so I just need to get on with it, so that's good. So hopefully we'll get a bit more progress done today. A couple of things that I've noticed as I've been going along, I'm going to have to take all the plasterboard off before I can take the wall down. I was hoping to take the wall down in sections, but the wall has not been kind to me. And if you just look up here, just adjust the camera, might be a little bit tricky to see. If you look up here, this header here goes all the way across there. I was hoping that it was kind of like made up in chunks of frame, but it's not. I think they made up this entire frame in a wanner and then mounted it and boarded it afterwards. So it didn't go up in sections, it just went up this whole chunk here, which makes sense really, thinking about it. I'd probably realise that if I'd given it a bit more thought. So I'm going to have to take all the plasterboard off and then start taking the wall down. Also, there was a huge amount of dust coming off it, more than I liked really, so I've set up a little force field there so that there's no dust going onto the other side of the kitchen. Hopefully it will all stay in just this area. Again, this is the trauma of having to do this in phases. I've got to try and keep the dust down as much as I possibly can. Another couple of things I found along the way, obviously there's a cable dropping down the wall here down to this switch on the other side, so that is going to need to come out and be made dead, because obviously I don't want to get any harm done on that one. And also, which is really quite frustrating, there's a couple of other things that I'm going to have to sort out around here. My daughter wanted to have a go at taking some of the walls down. This was like her real exciting thing that she's been looking forward to doing. So I gave her a little bit of wall that she could start smashing into with a hammer. And of course, not her fault in any way at all. But what did she find? Well, of course, the one bit of wall where there's pipes running down. So there's a couple of pipes there, a hot and cold feed, which go to the old location where the washing machine was. So they're going to need to be capped off above. I'll do that in another video. And you can see also I've got a socket down there, which is fed from this isolator, this 20 amp dual pole isolator. So that's going to need to come out as well. So that's going to require a little bit of jiggery pokery. But as always, you won't see me doing any electrical work on this channel. So that's up to eFix. So if you head over there, I'll leave a link somewhere for you to click on to check that out, to see me in my day job, as it were. So that's what we're looking at there. So I think all we can really do now is just set up the time lapse and just really have a go at the rest of this wall and see if we can get it down. So cut to the time lapse. So the plasterboard's coming off now, which is pretty good. That's going quite well. But the thing that's going to stop me from getting all the plasterboard off and getting it down the tip, which I really need to do today, sorry, recycling centre, that's very important, is this piece of worktop here. So this has got to come off, this has got to go. Now fortunately, it's not held on too securely. It's siliconed around the edge here, as you can see, but I'm hoping that if I just basically, let me flip the camera around and... Basically, I'm hoping that if I just undo these brackets, you can see that that timber's not up to much really. I think it's been chipped away in the past to get a unit under here or a washing machine under here or something. I'm hoping if I just remove those, they should, the whole thing should just drop down fairly easily. So we'll see if I'm right. So it turns out that silicon is stronger than we ever even knew. The supports have gone from underneath, but this is still absolutely rock solid, so I'm going to have to cut through the silicon. I've got this on wide view at the moment, which makes my arm look ridiculous when I do this, so I kind of quite like that effect. So I'll just score this silicon and hopefully that'll release this and it'll drop down nice and easy. Let's see. Let's go in. Trouble is I don't want it to go with a rush because there's still pipes and bits under here. There we go. Nice and comfortable. There we go. And that is, I think those nails I couldn't get out of the back have saved me that, which is good. Now I think I'll just need to draw the camera back so I can slide this out. There we go. There it is. There it is. Happy days, happy days. Now, I'm not actually going to chuck this away because when we moved the tumble dryer from this position to its new home, which you might be able to hear in the background now, we had to, I put down just a bit of chipboard floor for it to sit on as a sort of shelf, and I think that this will be much better and much more up to the task. So I think I'll hang on to that, reuse, reduce, recycle, and that'll make a nice little platform for the tumble dryer now. Happy days. There's something absolutely dispiriting about doing a time lapse of work and then volleying it into your video and realising that it's been condensed down to about 5 seconds work when you're absolutely exhausted and sweating. But there we go. So that's all this side taken off, which is really cool. So all this plasterboard on this side is gone, which is really exciting. So we're going to go and do the other side now. So I'm going to take all the plasterboard off because I want to get that down to the recycling centre today, so try and get that sorted out. And as you can see, there's some electrics and bits and bobs in this wall here, so I think we'll definitely get the plasterboard off and to the tip, but whether we'll get all of the pipes chopped off and the electrics sorted in time for taking the wall down today, taking the timber frame down today, that remains to be seen. I'd love to, I'd really like to, so that I can start boarding it as soon as possible. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Just thought it worth pointing out, you might have seen that socket hanging off the wall a moment ago. That is completely isolated and dead, so there was no danger of coming into contact with the live terminals in the back there, so no drama on that front. So there we go, one side of the plasterboard's off, leaving an enormous amount of wreckage. That was a very satisfying piece to get off. That came off in a wanna, that was beautiful. Just left a little bit at the top. So now we're going to start taking the plasterboard off on the other side. Let's get to it. Whew, okay, so we've got almost all the plasterboard off, which is really good. So I think what I'm going to do now is, it's been really hard back actually, I'm exhausted. So what I'm going to do now, I think, is just get this bit of wall out here behind me. Just going to get that bit out. So I can do that bit fairly easily. But I've got, over on the other side there, I've got some plumbing and bits and bobs to sort out. But we're making good time, and I can get rid of this section of wall, I reckon, which will be quite good, because then that's the vast majority of the plasterboard out, including that section there that I can't get to because of the sink, giving it a bit of a boot. And it seems that it's not going to, it's not attached, I don't think, to the kitchen unit there. So hopefully I should be able to get that out without too much aggro. So that'll be good. We're nearly there, nearly got this wall down, and then big tidy up, and then we can have a think about the next steps after that, which will probably be doing a bit of plasterboarding on the ceiling there. So good fun. Let's get this next section down. So I've just done that thing where I airily go, oh yeah, we'll just get this down, we'll just do this, we'll just do that. And I just remembered some of the challenges that I'm up against. So there's a couple of issues here. I'll just spin the camera around. So the first thing is, if I can get in close enough there to show you, is this little fella. So that's a cut nail there, which is a really thick beefy nail, so that's not going to come out in a hurry. So I'm probably going to have to strip off all the timber, the studs, the noggins, and the header and the sole plate in order to be able to get that down, because yeah, they're buried and I can't get the head of me crowbar or me hammer in there, so that's a bit of an issue. So that's going to need a little bit of jiggery pokery. We'll see how that works. And of course, this was built comfortably in time for the old Pasload gun to be used as well. So there's no way I can get those nail heads out of there either. Don't really want to spend ages cutting through the timber, and I'd like to salvage as much of this as possible. I mean, these uprights are be great for little projects that I've got in mind, little bits and bobs that I want to build. So I'm terrible for that. Yeah, Mrs. R will tell you I've never knowingly thrown away a bit of timber, so we'll try and salvage as much of that as we can. So I think what I'm probably going to do is get my reciprocating saw out, and I've got a blade that goes in there. It's only a cheapy saw, but I've got a blade that cuts metal. So what I'm thinking is, if I slice down the edge of the noggin there, between the noggin and the stud, that will probably cut through that like butter, and hopefully that'll put me in a good position. I've got the noggins out, and then the studs hopefully should come out even more easily. Then they should just almost bend out. A pretty good chance of getting the sole plate out, I think. That's got big nails in, but they very kindly left the heads a bit proud for me there, which is super helpful, so that'll be not too bad. So yeah, a little bit more work there than I anticipated, but I think I've got time. I really do need to, and I keep saying this, but I do need to get this down to the recycling centre today, or I'm going to be wading through this for days, which won't be good. So yeah, gonna dig out the reciprocating saw. It's just a cheapy one, a Screwfix Titan one. and then yeah, we'll make a start on getting this down. Let's go. Now you may have noticed during that last sequence I was being a little bit cautious about removing the timbers. I was sort of pushing them over quite carefully. And the reason for that is that once you've got that leverage, they come out of the sole plate, absolutely no problem whatsoever. They come out really easily because you've got all the leverage of the timber and it just rips clean out of the nail. But the problem is it leaves the nail behind, and this is really dangerous. So I've kind of half left the wood in where I can for this reason. Let me just flip the camera around and show you. So you can see there the nails sticking up out of the sole plate. So the timber's just ripped out of it, absolutely no problem whatsoever. In fact, these three are all still nailed together, so they came out as a oneer. So you've got the weight and the length of it giving you leverage, but yeah, look at those sticking out there. You can just imagine if you tread on one of those while you're doing the work, you're going to be in a literal world of pain. So I wanted to leave the timber as in position as I could, because actually it kind of helps to cover those over and prevent you from accidentally treading on one and really hurting yourself. So yeah, so we'll get the lengths of timber out the door, and now that I've finished chopping the timber out the header there, I'll be able to lift these sole plates up and hopefully get rid of those nasty nails there, and job will be a good one. So an exciting moment now. We're just about to get the sole plate up here, which allows us to get this last piece of plasterboard out, which is really cool. Please forgive the noise over on the other side there. Mrs. R's making dinner on the other side of the force field, and it's a roast, which I'm going to badly need after today's work. So we'll let her crack on with that. So we'll get this sole plate up. Hopefully it'll come out quite easily. Famous last words. Let's see what happens. That's all good, so I was careful just to pull that away from my face, because obviously I've still got these nails sticking out here, which are pretty brutal. So if I was pulling that towards me and it gave, that could have been nasty. And actually that's helped start pulling this off the wall as well, which is pretty cool, getting the sole plate off. So hopefully this will be the last of the plasterboard. Yeah, get those other bits of sole plate up to get rid of those nails, and then we can think about doing the tip run. And it's just started snowing. Wonderful. Like literally, really? It's hailing. Perfect for the tip run. Good stuff. Thanks for the weather update, Mrs. R. Much appreciated. I'm going to get rid of this and start loading the car up, I think. Look at that weather. I've just put all my timber outside. It's been dry as a bone, and now this happens. Absolutely typical. Got to go to the tip, and my timber's getting drenched. Happy days. Okay, so I've been away and come back from this. I've done some plumbing, so I've taken out the pipes that were here, so they're now gone, which is really good. Sorted out the electrics in this area as well, so that's all been taken care of. And I'm now at the point where all I've really got left to do is just to take out this last section of wall here. So this little bit here has got to go. What I have realised though is I'm going to have to leave these sticking out a little bit. I've got to get rid of that because I need to plaster up to this. I need to get the plaster in for the ceiling. But I need to leave these because at the moment they are supporting this archy bit. Now that's going to go eventually, but it's not going to go in this phase. So that's going to have to stay. And we'll just have these little ends of timber sticking out. Hopefully it won't be too disruptive and stick into anyone. There won't be any sharp bits of them sticking out anywhere. It's just a bit of a nuisance more than anything. So yeah, we'll get this down, and that's the end of this video. So nearly there, just got to get this last bit of wall out, and that's the demolition phase for phase 1 over. Okay, so properly the last bit now. Just got to get this last little bit of sole plate up. As you can see, it's where it joins the bit of wall that I'm having to leave in place for phase 2. So just looking at this, I'm going to have to cut it as close to there as I can because I don't want it to be a trip hazard. It's only got one nail in it, but I can't pull the whole thing up because obviously the wall just keeps going. So what I'm going to do is try and just cut here. Now, this is my best bit of saw, but it's the only one I've got. I'd like to use my reciprocating saw for this really, but it's because I'm so close to the floor, it's not going to do what I need it to do really. It's going to hit the floor and not go much further, and then the blade's probably only going to end up not even going halfway through. So just got to do this a little bit carefully, this bit. So let's give it a go, see what it looks like. What I wouldn't give for a shorter bladed saw right now. Right, I've gone as far through that as I dare. I think I might have just hit the deck a couple of times. That looks remarkably nick free actually. Right, so hopefully with a whack this should give. There we go. Happy days, there we go. I've done quite well there actually. Got through almost the whole thing, just that last little bit there. Not causing too much damage to the damp-proof membrane underneath, which is good. Right, get me crowbar and get this up. And this is good timing because it's the end of the day, and it's also about the end of the battery life on my phone. There we go, it's off now. Happy days. Find Stanley. Come on, Stanley. There we go. Just cut that across there. It's just a little bit damp from when I took the pipes out earlier. And there we go. That's the last little piece out. Cool, I didn't want to give it up, did it? Look at that, it's taken a reasonable chunk of the floor with it. Not to worry. Right, good stuff. So that is the end of the demo. It's all just a big tidy up now. So yeah, thanks for joining me on this journey. Not quite sure where it's going to end at this point, but it's going to be fun getting there. So there we go. As always folks, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching me do this very amateurish demolition work, and we'll see you in the next video hopefully. Thank you very much for watching. Bye now.